Hi guys, it's Amy and you have found Amy Loves Crochet. Thank you so much for clicking on my video today. I really appreciate it when you want to come spend time with me, so thank you. I hope you laugh, smile, enjoy some crochet talk today, maybe get inspired or motivated to do something in your own yarny world. So thanks for coming along with me today. So I can't wipe this smile off my face. Everything that's been going on with my channel lately, it's blowing my mind. So thank you again. Okay, back to work. So I saw this video on some bulky mittens, and the only size 6 bulky that yarn that I had is in an anniversary cake, a Caron anniversary cake. And so I thought, let's go ahead and crack into that. And so I did some mittens with that, some mittens and hats with that. But the actual pattern was really for Lion Brand Woolies Thick and Quick. And I didn't think I had any. But then I remembered that this is, okay, I got to take these off. I can't even work with these. My mom had this set that was a Learn to Knit. It came with some knitting needles. I almost call them sticks. And 2 skeins of this fantastic yarn. It is a 20% wool and 80% acrylic, so I would normally not think that I want to buy it, and it still smells like my mom, so I really didn't want to use it either, but it was in this zipper pouch that she bought from QVC, and the invoice is still in there. It's from 2002. She paid where is it, 39, oh, with tax is $49.29, and it came with a video. I don't know where the video went, but anyway, I had a thought in the middle of the night. I had already made 3 sets with the anniversary cake, 3 sets of hats and mittens, and I had a light bulb go off that I had this sitting up on top of my bookshelves. So I went ahead and cracked into it this morning. I made one of the gloves in like a half an hour. So it's something that you could totally buzz right through. And 2 gloves were out of 1 skein. So if you follow her pattern and use this yarn and use this, you know, the 8mm hook that she recommends, that, and you know, you're focused on what you're doing and not watching TV or whatever, you could get these knocked out in like a half an hour each. So I really did like the hat as well. And so, like I said, or maybe I didn't say, I've done a couple of different recordings of this because I'm losing my brain. But this was the hat in the anniversary cakes, following her pattern with her hook size. The top section of the hat, she says to do with a 9mm hook, and then the band is going to be done in an 8mm hook. I thought that the spaces in the anniversary cake, in the Caron, were too big, and this was using an 8mm. So I wanted to go down a hook size, and as we all know, there are 6.5, okay, and then you jump up to an L, that's an 8mm. And so I thought, why are we not having a 7mm in there? So I did search Amazon and found one that was less than $6, and I have Prime, so it shipped quickly for free, and I had it, I think, the next day. So in case you have never seen a 7mm hook, they do exist. Yay! So I started working up the pattern with a 7mm hook. And so first of all, so again, this is a this is anniversary cake, 9mm for the hat part, and then an 8mm for the brim. And I love it with a little bit of hair tucked out, but it is too big to sit as a normal beanie. So I really liked it more like this, okay? So the 7mm all the way through is way too tight. I mean, it fits. It fits. It could probably fit a teen with a little bit of breathing room, but this is kind of super tight. And I don't know that I don't know, maybe you'd wear it super tight like this, but I might suggest this for a teen with a 7mm hook, a little bit tight. So then the, whoops, with the red, what did I do for the red? The red hat, I went back to her idea of doing a bigger hook here. So I did the 8mm here, and then the 7mm here. And for beanie, I think this is perfect. It was a lot more spacious, believe it or not, than the yellow. And I think it's a good idea to do the hat part of it in a little bit bigger hook than the brim. So those were my two favorites. If you want to have a slouchy one, then you can, use the anniversary cake with an 8mm here and a 9mm here and an 8mm for the brim, or an 8mm for the hat here and a 7mm brim for like more of a beanie style. And this was the slouchy one. The gloves were just kind of all over the board because when I did this, again, this was too spacious, if you ask me. This is the anniversary cake in an 8mm as she was using for the Lion brand. See how I can't even say this? I'm trying to explain the video or explain my changes, and the words are just all over the place. Play with your yarn, see what fits, take out a couple stitches. I mean, seriously, folks. So the band was either 14 or 16 rows of back loop only, single crochet. You start with 7 chains and then go into the second. So you've got a 6. This is 6 stitches across, and sometimes I did 14 rows and sometimes I did 16 rows. Okay, and then flip that inside out, and you start with your rows of double crochet here. You increase for this row and this row, and then when you're going to do this row, you leave 6 stitches out for your thumb. So I went, this one was, the pattern says to do 14 rows here. So then you do an increase in the very first row. So you've got 18 rows here. 18 stitches here. And then the next row is going to be an increase again. So you'll have 22. You leave out 6 stitches for your thumb. So you take your 22 and subtract that 6. So you've got 16 stitches for here. So you go 8 double crochet, skip your 6 stitches, and then do your other 8 double crochet around the back, and then you'll meet up. And then you do 3 rows of no changes. You just do, so you're at 16 stitches now, and you just do 16 double crochet for the next 3 rows, and then you do a row of decreases. So every 2 stitches become 1. That's the pattern. And then she ties on over here on the thumb. You've got 6 stitches for your thumb. You tie on, do a chain 2, so you've got the right height, and then you do a double crochet in every stitch for 2 rows, and then you tie off at the top. And that's easy breezy. So again, it took me about a half an hour to make it this morning, and that was, my 4th pair of gloves in a couple of days. So once you get going with it, you can make them super duper quick. I have not gone through all of my anniversary cake yarn. I still have a bunch of balls left. The color changed, so I guess doing a little review for the stain for this cake. The color, if you're going to work a pattern that goes, like a blanket or something like that, a blanket, or maybe something that doesn't have specific rows, then this is fine. For my preference, the color changed a little bit too quickly, and that is proven in my hat here. This is how much blue I had. You can see at the very tip, I cut right where the color was changing. I was trying to get it right in there. See how this little bit stitch is, the very beginning of that stitch is a little bit different than the blue. So that's where the other color started, or a different color started, I should say. And then this is how much blue I had, and then it changed. So even for one color grouping, unless you were going to do a child's hat, you're going to have to tie off and add a different color. So then that was kind of like a nightmare in trying to dig through and get out the different colors. So like in the very beginning, starting with the yellow, I needed to break out some more of the yellow to finish the second glove or the second mitten. And so then you'll see that was just a nightmare as well. A nightmare to deal with separating the yarn. So for my next, I have this full cake to start with. I'm going to do a blanket pattern with this one because there's no way I'm going to take the time to separate the colors like I did for the cake of mittens and hats that I'm working up. So this is what I was going to say. This one I really like every single row, every single thing I did. So where's my list? There. So this one I did with a 7mm hook, and I went back to the pattern of doing the 14 rows around the wrist. At the 7th row, So you do 4, 5, and 6 all in the same count. You're not changing the stitch for rows 4, 5, and 6. And then you're supposed to decrease for row 7. I did a whole nother row of same count for row 7. I didn't decrease until row 8, and then you're supposed to tie off, and I did another decrease row up there. So, and now it looks like super pointy. Like, see how rounded these are? And then like this is super pointy, and I don't necessarily prefer that. Now it fits me. It fits super snug. I do like the 7mm for the Caron cake in the glove pattern, but you really kind of have to start changing the tip of the hand, and then it gets kind of wonky. Also, like the thumb area, I don't know, maybe you could do them in single crochet, but then the thumb is different than the hand, and I don't necessarily like that either. So I thought maybe doing, I don't know, if you do any different stitch for the thumb, it's gonna show. You're gonna see it. So overall, I think if you're gonna do the Caron cake for this pattern, you can use a 7mm hook if you have one. If not, the 8mm works out just fine, with a little bit more spacing here. I don't know, maybe you could try some half doubles if you like that better. Just play with it. Not a fan of the pointed tip of the hand, but the other thing that I did like is that I went longer on the cuff with the red pear. I did 9 chains and then started a back loop only in the second. So it gave me 8 stitches across the cuff that you're doing back loop only. So that was a lot of fun to try how the different colors might work up. And, you know, so then this morning I decided to go ahead and crack into one of Mom's skeins. I've got this much left after making a set of mittens. This is 108 yards. And I got this much left. I weighed them. They're 70 grams. So this one came in 170 grams. So I got 2 gloves and I have a little bit left. I also added to these the single crochet border. It's just a personal preference. If you like the more rugged look, then go right ahead. But this is what her pattern is supposed to work up in the Lion Brand Thick and Quick woolies in the 8mm hook. I did these in the 8mm hook this morning. So again, half an hour at a time, wham bam, one glove's done. I do believe that the way her pattern works is good in this fit. Here's the opposing yarn, or the different yarn, and so you can see why maybe I wasn't as pleased. You can see how the yellow yarn, you know, the Caron anniversary cake was looks just so much different than the woolies as the pattern was intended to do. So there's my gloves and hat sets. All right, so I did show you the 3 sets of the hat and mittens that I made in the yellow, the red, and the blue with the teal along the bottom. But I couldn't help myself from making some more after the video was finished, so I'm snipping this in, or, you know, sticking this in here during editing. I did make an orange set, and I think I went a little bit too long on the wrist part, the cuff. I went to 12 stitches because I wanted to give you the opportunity to roll up the cuff, but it really makes it super bulky in that point, and then I don't know that you'd wear it with a jacket. But it is a more comfortable glove than I thought these were going to be. I really am in love with these. That's why I just kept making them. And I wanted to fix the finger part. So with the red ones, I decreased every 2 stitches on that row, and then decreased every 2 again on the next row. In this one, I just decreased every 4th on this one, and then around on this one. So it rounded off the top a lot better, but I still got my 7mm size in the spacing here. So I like that. And then I wanted to use up some of the orange, but I didn't just want a big old orange pumpkin head. So I thought I'd add the red to the border. And if you watched the video where I announced the winners of the giveaway, I was wearing this hat, which is the teal with the red border. I really like that in sort of the beanie style. And then this one was a slouchy one. I wanted to do a super duper extra slouchy one just to see, you know, just to see how we would go with that. And it's maybe not for me. I don't know. It's kind of funky, a little different than me. I think it looks a little wide here. I think I might not go, if I were doing it again, I don't know. I might do it a little bit differently, but I was just following the patterns more. You could play with it, Conehead. I did just need a little bit more of the blue, so I did have to dig into the second cake just a little bit. I pulled the center section out here. This is what I've got left of that. Oh no, so maybe it did start with the red, and that's just wrapped around. So it's got a little tiny bit of red, and then a full amount of orange, and a full amount of yellow. And then it went into the blue that I stole for this. So I don't know, the longer I like it, I mean, the longer I wear it, the more I like it. So I'll go ahead and put the rest of the video here to finish up. Okay, bye. Again, I can't decide if I want to make a hat out of this. I mean, I really like the mittens, and I would keep them for myself because it was Mom's yarn. So I can't believe that I can still smell her on this. And again, this, what did the invoice say? 2002, 20 years ago, almost, you know, October. So yeah, just 20 years ago. And it still smells like her. I love it. Don't be afraid to try a pattern in a different yarn. You know, you may not get the same result, but you'll get a different result, and maybe that is something in and of itself, right? You know, don't be afraid to change up count. It's just yarn. Frog out a couple of rows, because again, these were, so after the thumb, after you get to this part, that's 16 stitches. You can do 16 stitches, and if you don't like it, pull it out. It doesn't take that long. You know, it's hard to work on a blanket and decide that you don't like how it's working out, but these are just, you know, half-hour gloves or whatever. So mittens. I keep saying gloves. They're mittens. Alrighty, guys. So there you go. I hope you feel a little bit of motivation to change up a pattern. You know, make it work for you, or use a pattern that you find with a different yarn and see what your result is, because maybe it'll work out better for you than the initial pattern that you saw. So thank you so much for sitting with me. I do appreciate your time. Have a wonderfully blessed day, and I hope to see you again. Thanks. Bye-bye.